Hey folks, Captain Mike here from Salty Cape. I'm here with Captain Jamie Simmons from Imtra, who is the North American distributor for Zipwake, and Jamie's going to show us in just a few steps how easy it is to install the system on a 26-foot regulator.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, we're going to walk through here installation on 26 regulator. Really simple, really DIY friendly product for most users. If you're not comfortable doing this type of work, you can certainly have any reputable boatyard or dealer in New England where we are, or even nationwide, can certainly handle the installation of a Zipwake. It's very simple, but we're going to hop in here today on Rob's 26 regulator and run through the steps, what to look for, and show you how easy the installation is.
So Rob knows 10x about this system, more than I do. So I'm gonna let Captain Rob sort of fill us in all the juicy details.
All right, thanks, Mike. We're super excited. It's a major upgrade, and we've been looking forward to this for a really long time. One of the main points that I am gonna like a lot about this system is the comfort factor. The boat's always gonna be running at optimal ride angle. So you're not gonna have to be thinking about even adjusting it. It's gonna do it for you. And when people are moving around, the boat's gonna adjust for that. So when you get back to the dock at the end of the day, after standing on a stable platform, you're gonna be a lot less tired and less fatigued when you're standing there trying to adjust yourself instead of the boat adjusting for you.
Yeah, so I was reading about Zipwake. So it's significantly faster response time than your standard trim tabs, the old school version. And so when you're running, especially 30, 35 knots offshore, all the little motions of the boat, the speed of the system's just gonna really level that boat out. And to me, that's worth the price of admission alone. Just at the end of the day, you're going to be so much less tired, especially you run hundreds of trips a season, and that's amazing.
Some of those runs are a little long. It's going to make those a lot easier. And then that directly couples with the second thing I'm excited about, which is going to improve the efficiency markedly. If the boat's running in an optimal angle, then that means you're burning less fuel. And when you go back and fill up at the end of the day, that makes a big difference on the end of the season when we're putting 1,000 hours a year on these boats.
Yeah, and tuna fishing, make long runs, even all the short little inshore trips, all that adds up. And fuel ain't cheap, especially these days, and that's a huge selling point, at least in my opinion, for the system. You'll notice it at the dock.
Absolutely. And then going back on where we started with, kind of like set it and forget it. You're going to turn these on, you put them in fully automatic mode, and it's going to take care of the rest. That's from speeding up, slowing down, taking corners, stopping, going, casting that fish, running to the next one. Just something that you don't have to think about at all anymore. We can focus on what we need to do, which is go catch tuna.
Yeah, and so you're running. For example, I remember a shoot last year, our first tuna fishing shoot. We were coming to meet you, and about 4 or 5 miles before we got there, we saw a small little pot of fish in the light, and we had a fish in the boat that I wasn't expecting to have at that point in time. And so constantly working trim, the trim tabs, the boats, and leveling the seas and everything. Like anything, in my opinion, that I can do to free up my mind to focus on tells and looking and my electronics and watching, especially as you're getting close to the fishing grounds, that's going to up your game. And then other times too, like coming through Woods Hole. I grew up fishing at Woods Hole. There's just a lot going on, and there's a lot of currents and so you might be using the tabs quite a bit in a channel like Woods Hole, but that's the time you want to use them the least in terms of focusing on traffic.
Absolutely.
And so again, freeing up the mental space, that's definitely something worth thinking about.
Yeah, Woods Hole's a tricky spot. I try to stay out of Woods Hole as much as possible, but
well, cool. So this is awesome. I can't wait to see this thing in action, get this thing in, and this is awesome.
Yeah, let's get going on installing them. It shouldn't take long. They're pretty simple.
So we have the full crew here. Jamie from Imtra, who, again, the North American distributor for Zipwake. So he's the man here with the Zipwake. And Rob, we're going to just take a minute to decompose what comes in this box and how easy it is to install the system.
So what we have here, this is your standard kit box from Zipwake. There's 24 different shapes and models, but this here is the 400 Series E, 400 millimeter interceptor. you're going to have your pair of interceptors. So 2 interceptors. As you can see, it's all color coded. The interceptors come in blue box. You're going to have your control panel, and then you also have your distribution block. So as you can see here, this is one of the really nice things about working with Zipwake, is very nice and put together. The instructions are really clear. Everything's color coded. Just a really nice product to work with. Now we're going to show you guys what the installation looks like.
So if you don't know what an interceptor is, don't feel bad. I just learned the term. So in Zipwake terms and in their system, this is technically an interceptor, but this in itself is what's going to replace your old-fashioned, old-school trim tab.
So here we have our template set up on the transom. Here, Rob's got these taped up on the transom. As you can see, Zipwake makes these really nice PVC templates with the pre-drill hole spots for you. So we're going to use 1/4-inch drill spots here, and then a 3/4 for the through hole going out the back, because we're going to do a nice flush mount for the through hole. But they also offer an above the water line installation as well, and those parts come with the kit. If you have an existing old trim tab hole that you want to utilize, that's a really nice thing that comes with all the kits. Important thing here is make sure you want to get this interceptor as far outboard as possible. The farther outboard you get, the more effective it is for the roll control, because of the lifting force and where that location is on the hull. And then you want to run that straight edge on the bottom of the running surface and make sure these tabs come just in contact with the running surface. You want to make sure that's just in contact. You don't want it too low or too high. You want it just touching the straight edge. So Rob's going to hop in and drill in these holes for the back plate, as well as a hole for the through hull fitting.
Okay, so this obviously is an easy system to install, but I gotta say, well, A, I hate drilling holes into gel coat. And number 2, I'm not quite as handy as you guys, so a guy like me, I would send this to the boatyard that takes care of my boat. And is that something, so how does that work?
Yeah, great question. As you can see, the product is really nice to set up for the, a guy that's handy like myself or Rob that wants to do DIY project. But majority of our boat owners that are getting the Zipwake system added on, they're just going to their standard boatyard that's taking care of their boat. Almost any reputable boatyard or marina can take care of this installation for you. Really simple installation. We also have a really vast dealership network nationwide. So you can go on to Imtra.com and take a look at our dealership network, and they'll show up on the map, and you can type in your zip code and it'll show you exactly where you can go have a certified dealer do the install for you.
Now, seeing how easy this is to install, I got to imagine that goes a long way to having it be a reasonable budget to install one of these things. So it's it just seems so easy and so efficient to put these in.
Yep, in a perfect world, if you had a nice clean transom like we have here at Rob's boat, you're looking at obviously the cost of the equipment and then a day or two of labor max. So in terms of labor, and if everything's right like Rob's boat, we can do this in a day, no problem.
And so one thing I'm seeing and thinking here in this whole process, I'm around the water a lot, fish a lot of our Hoagie customers and Salty Cape Land, and a lot of people spend big bucks on electronics upgrade. Seems to me you get a lot of bang for your buck with this compared to new units or everything. It just seems like such an obvious upgrade to a boat, assuming it works for the transom.
Yeah, as Rob mentioned before, with the added benefits with comfort and efficiency, and just not having to focus on trimming your boat out and enjoying that on the water experience, and not having to focus on the trim of your boat. This is going to do that optimally for you, maximize efficiency and comfort for all the guests on your boat, and it's really just a great add-on. And for the investment, very few aftermarket products you can add to your boat that you're actually going to see this much comfort and efficiency added to your boat and how it handles.
Yeah, that's amazing. So our slogan at Hoagie Lure Company, I wear 2 hats, Salty Cape and Hoagie, is Fish Smart, Fish Simple. And this system embodies that platform. And what I mean simple is you cut out all the BS and you just focus on what matters. And so Rob mentioned he runs 100 miles or 60 miles each way tuna fishing, and you don't have to think about anything anymore. You're just focused on what matters. That's finding fish, comforting your guests, and Yeah, super excited to see this in action.
We're installing the back plates of the interceptor now. This is the part that goes on the transom first after drilling our holes with the templates. As you can see here, we got the holes drilled, Rob's putting in the fasteners. A couple key points here to really keep in mind when you're doing this. Sealant, really important. You don't want any sealant on this gearbox area. You're gonna do a thin bead on the bottom, and then each fastener hole, a dab on each fastener hole. No sealant here. And then you're gonna put it on the transom and fasten it down. So once the back plate's on, the next step is getting your servos mounted. We're gonna do out the back plate, nice and flush mount here. Really simple, take the back nut off your through hull. You're gonna run the wire through your through hull hole, feed it through. And then you have your through hull fitting here. You're gonna wanna make sure you put some 4,000 or 4,200 equivalent on the stem. Not too much, just a little bit on the threads because there is an O-ring seal here too, and 2 pressure seals in the stem. We're gonna seat that down, and then you're gonna wanna make sure your rack is all the way to the right-hand side. It has to be the right-hand side, and you wanna make sure it lines up with the drive shaft of the servo. So you wanna get in here and make sure that that lines up, and it should sit nice and flush. And one of the other key things here is once we get to this step, for the servo and the front plates, all these fasteners are gonna be torque sensitive. These are gonna be 2 Newton meters, that's critical. So you wanna make sure you have a torque wrench that is able to go that low. We sell them at Imtra if you need them. And then your front plates are gonna be 7 and 15 Newton meters. For this, you wanna do 2 Newton meters, and you have to be really careful that you don't wanna strip out the components. Once we get the back plate servo in, it's the last step of doing the installation on the transom. We got to put the front plate on. As I mentioned before, these are torque sensitive. We're going to do 7 Newton meters on the smaller fasteners and 15 on the 40 T40 fittings on the larger fasteners. So we're going to make sure the blade is in the up position. It's going to go over the top of the servo, and then Rob is going to torque those fasteners appropriately. So now that we got the interceptors mounted, we got the distribution mounted on the back bulkhead. You're gonna plug those interceptors into those ports, P1, S1 in this situation where we just have a pair of interceptors. And then you're gonna plug in that iBus cable that runs up to your helm that we've already wired our control panel. And that's it, we're ready to go boating. Last thing you're gonna wanna do after you get your system hooked up, you're gonna power your system on, you're gonna wanna do an interceptor check. You're gonna go into the menu, go to interceptor setup, and go down to interceptor check. And you're gonna select that. It's going to do a sweep cycle on the blades and measure amp draw on the units to make sure they're operating the right parameters. That's going to tell you that you torqued everything right, everything's moving mechanically correctly. That means your boat's ready to go in the water.
So thanks guys for having me come down for the install. I was expecting easy install, but this was actually surprisingly easy. You know, I'm a little scared drilling holes in gel coat, but I see why, you know, Imtra makes a big deal about the DIY factor for the boat, but this is great. I can't wait to get out with the spring. It's form of torture. We got another few weeks. I'm cold in the shop here, but we'll be fishing before we know it.
Yeah, I'm really excited to show you guys how awesome these things are, and it does get easier. The more holes you drill in the bottom of your boat, it gets easier.
Yeah. Oh, great. Well, thanks, Jamie, for coming down, and yeah, we'll see you out in the water soon. So here we are, out here with Captain Rob, our first striper trip of the year. And this is actually my first time on the water with the Zipwake that I knew about. And so I've heard all about these things, and Captain Rob is just gonna walk us through. And so what I know and what I'm looking forward to see about these things is, one, how the Zipwakes will auto trim the boat, so if you got people walking around. But number 2, it'll attenuate the bow, so it'll keep the bow trimmed on acceleration and help mat the boat down in rough seas. And so we picked a perfect day for that. 25 mile an hour winds out of the southwest, long fetch down Buzzards Bay. Perfect opportunity to show these things off.
Totally easy to use. My favorite thing about it, you just turn it on, basically put it in auto, and it does all the work for you. So we're idling out right now. We're just coming out of the harbor and about to put it up. So I'll go ahead and put it in auto. And
so it's one button push and you're in auto.
One button push, you're in auto. And that automatically, since we're in idle, pushes the tabs all the way down. And
so what is down going to do? When the tabs go down?
Lower the bow when you're getting on plane. So instead of coming up with a big bow raise and you can't see out your front window, it's going to keep the bow down, the boat jumps right up flat, and as soon as you're at cruise speed, the blades will come back up and the boat will optimize for the roll.
How quickly does it recalibrate itself on plane? Is it instant?
They're really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So effectively instant.
Yep.
It just.
Yeah, there's a small delay, so when you're turning, it doesn't mess up your turn, but it's pretty fast.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was worried about. Yeah, I could get. Oh, that's awesome.
So windy day like this, definitely going to be using the Zipwakes. Favorite thing about them is how easy they are to use. So we're about to put it up on plane and head to where we're fishing. Just going to go ahead and put it in automatic, just single button. And what that does, it lowers the interceptors all the way down so that when you take off on plane, your bow stays nice and low. A lot of boats, when you put it up on plane, the bow comes way up and you can't see out your window. And that's especially dangerous in fog, when it's dark, and
Inefficient.
inefficient for sure, and definitely uncomfortable feeling not knowing where you're going. So with the interceptors all the way down, it'll help the boat hop right up on plane, nice flat running. And as soon as it gets on plane at cruise speed, it'll start bringing them back up for an optimized efficiency and comfortable ride.